Well, hey guys, this is gonna be a super short one, I think. I just hit the point where I'm at the blooming trees in my farm on Vintage Story of Year 7. My kind of thinking of it as like Stardew Valley and Vintage Story. It's very chill and uncharacteristic to streams. This is just gonna be a short one where I'll just walk through, and then I think that'll be it. Sort of like a blossoming festival from any or many parts of the world. Say cherry blossom festivals, which there are cherry blossoms here when it loads in. I didn't feel like hooking up the camera or anything, so hopefully the levels are pretty good as we just walk through and chill. This has been the classic spring on the farm. Year 6, we actually got a pretty rain-free spring, but most of the springs here, the blossoms are blossoming, but it is rainy. I was trying to get a pig up onto the roof, and he ate a bunch of my... Is this chicken eating my stuff? Chicken got free too. But yeah, we did a little bit more on the plaster and the brick. This is the lane of Pearlane. At least that's what I think of. Should we chase the chicken out of the farm? Get out of here, chicken. Gen 6 chicken. Be free. Oh, is it gonna walk in the hole? It might. Say hi to the neighbors. Kind of cool if we can get the neighbors to come and visit. What do you got, Jasper? 1 year. This is the view I really like. Just the house from the front. This is where I happened to take a bunch of screenshots earlier on. So I'll come here and press the fruit. And actually, you know, it's been sitting here. It'll be fine. It'll make fine juice. We stashed a few bits of fruit here last year that we didn't fully squeeze, so we can squeeze those out. Head inside, probably grab a little snack since it looks like we're hungry. Cheese? Let's see, parsnips or a little porridge with pink apple? Seems like a good... Is it breakfast time? No, it's like lunch. We'd have a little hefty parsnip stew. A little fuel and some vintage beef in there. We should put some vintage beef out here in the tavern. I think that'd actually be cool. It's not going to go bad. Let's see. A little emergency beef. There we go. It's not old, it's aged. Little beef right there for patrons. Ooh, we should put out some bread too. Little bread and beef. This is the perfect place setting. You know, like we can walk by and if we need to, we can eat some of that beef, but oh, it'll make a little set dressing. We did a little work on the upstairs rooms too. I'll show you. So I like this transition a little bit better up here. There's a little bit of a dish stowage area, a little sake nook. And then this leads up, we have a few more crates. Yeah. It's looking alright with the roof. We did actually raise the cementation furnace. Oh. Looks like that needs just a little bit more iron on the fire. You have to be in just the right place to load these up, so I have a little bit of a weird nook here, and I might accentuate this little little lighting nook. Get that steel going again, but we did a little work here too to make this area just a little bit more cozy. You know, we might turn this into a full window space at some point, and maybe pull in this wall to make this a little nook. But you know, like as soon as you come in from the tavern, you can tell that this is a little bit more of a private area. And then the study, a little bit more so in the bedroom. Just feels a little bit more intimate, right? So if you have guests at the tavern, they're not immediately going in there. The kiln area, still looking pretty good. Some stuff ready to go. I was gonna try and come up with a little coding system where maybe there's a 0 made out of the colors if no hatches are open, and then maybe there's like a 2, and then maybe like a 3. I haven't fully figured out that system yet, but it'd be nice just to have a system where you can look, just in case. You know, I mean, I've been firing enough of these that I'm pretty confident with the colors that I'm going to get when I fire the beehive kiln. It's kind of cool to get to that point. But it'd be nice to have just like a little reference there, you know? Nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Got some flowers here on the side, and we open this up a little bit, but I do think the roof wants to be extended out if this is just going to be flowers. This maple? What's this brick doing? Looks a little awkward right there. I'll bet we'll be shielded here with this maple. I think we don't need that brick if we needed it to begin with. Yeah, maybe we'll leave that maple. Maybe should I give it a little bit more space to breathe? I don't know. Have another tree over there. I still haven't turned this room into like a blue cheese area, or maybe this room, or really filled out the whole idea. How are there leaves inside of the... Was there... What? Okay. Interesting. We still have our little yoke tent here. Cementation furnace is going, and now that I've raised this up just a little bit, this smokestack really does sort of sit with the profile of the building. Oh, look, and from up here we can see all our trees. With our roof access here. Some of these are still little guys, but when they get bigger, they'll be nice to walk through. Some of these bigger guys are really getting to be a different experience to walk through. The whole place, in terms of just getting the essentials started, really feels like it's on its way. Big fruit trees would be really interesting. I haven't really had years-old fruit trees like this before. So coming up with a plan that's really long-term in nature was pretty fun. We have a space here next to the tallest and the oldest pink apple. And in the spring we get butterflies around it, which is quite lovely. Quite nice. Well, maybe we should have some sort of path that goes around the inside of our hole for bees. Just so that the path can continue through, you know? You can have different ways it could go, because it does sort of go off this way, but maybe this spring what we work on is really getting everything gardened out. Oh. Some grass is coming back. I keep experimenting with pumpkins. We'll see what this does. Oh, we've got a little bit more fresh tree variegation in here, like trying to just get in some different trees and rebuild where a giant fire swept through here and killed all the grass in year 2 or 3. So some of this, I mean, we may eventually start to cut again, but a lot of it we leave. But especially I find different kinds of trees, it's fun to get different kinds of trees in here. And so yeah, now that this is extended a little bit, maybe the pathway should go through a pumpkin area. I want to see how the pumpkins actually go. And then if we can find something that makes sense, we can have a little weaving path here, a sunken fountain, maybe a path that goes through the hole for bees. Hey pigs, hey chickens. Or 1 of 2 surviving peach trees. Hey goats. Goats? Goats. Sheep. I know animals. The butterflies are awesome through here. And this definitely, so I have an idea actually, probably one of the big projects I'll do this year is a barn based off of some medieval designs. And this is just going from historical precedent, and maybe I should stream some of it so I can show some of my process of looking at UNESCO heritage sites, like really historically relevant sites, and then kind of imagining what the floor plan would look like inside of something like Vintage Story, and then just, you know, going through the testing, probably test it out with some packed earth. But the idea in general is that this area will be sort of, if you've ever played Kingdom Come Deliverance, you've seen the different squares where people can play different dice games and hang out sort of outside of a tavern. So I want to have something like that. But then next to some of those are these barns with these big overhanging roofs. And this is another, like, it's got some architectural, like, theory precedent too, like the big hanging roofs just give a lot of shelter and shade and feel nice. And it's actually really inspired me. I think if I did do something like Perk's Crow's Nest, I would probably want to do just a very small lot and then just have a little space where people could gather, maybe around a pit kiln in the middle. So this is one idea, is have like a fire area surrounded by a pit kiln so that it could just stay lit for a long time. So you could have a low burning fire with a few logs around it, and you know, some space to eat, maybe some little thatch tents. And then a low hanging sort of barn over here where you can keep the elk and just ride through and have a big gate. So one of the things I need to do is hammer out some nails and strips and probably figure the best way to trim this guy so we get like a nice experience of going maybe underneath a tree here and have like a tunneling effect that happens. And so as these get bigger, this is one of the things that we'll look at, like, these are too small to really imagine it, but as these get bigger, I can really start to see how, as we walk through this, if we do just like some little, some light trimming on the bottom, we could have a really cool tunnel of different fruit trees that we walk through. Bees. Oh, we could start to get some honey again. Bees. And I have a bunch of banked flowers. What we'll also do is start to create like a gradient of bushiness of flowers. So like as we get close to this, there'll be some sort of wall. I'm not settled on like the final like shape that I need. Like over here we obviously extended out to make room for our pumpkins. Wow, this actually takes a little while to walk over here. So we have this pumpkin area. And we might extend a little bit further over there once I get through the peat fields. And this will probably be fine. I don't think I'll need to cut any of these trees to make room for the barn that I have in mind. But then once that barn is in place, some of these guys may go into it, and then I don't know what I'd do with this other space here too. So maybe there's like an extension to the barn that happens there. We'll see. But yeah, I think one of the things we did this last year was really work on the plaster, and I really learned kind of how to do some different patterns in the base plaster. A lot of the plastering that happens in vintage story builds like that you see online, people are using support beams to really fill these out. And so now that I have the base shape that I like, you know, and I'll keep plinking away at it, you know, and we have shingles that if we want to, we can cover this up. I've made so many shingles. Oh my god. You know, like there's places where the plaster isn't completely filling out over here, and I think that's okay. Whoa. No one saw anything. Yeah, the plaster feels really nice. And you know, there's some places where we still have some packed earth. So as I find more blue clay, you know, we might finish out some of those areas or come up with different ways to do it. We've added some little windows in here. And yeah, this is like a totally usable space, like if you had a guest. They have room for their things. And there's a theme to it, you know. This is our pottery room. This is, I don't know if that armor stand quite works there. But, you know, there's room for some things here. We could put some books inside the vessel. That might be thematic. And we have a bunch of books just banked away. A little stage down here. We messed with a little bit of wallpaper. And then I messed with the bricks after. So I wrecked some of the wallpaper. We're gonna have to go buy some more. We've got a nice little Monopoly Man thing going on with our treasure hunter and our commodities merchants here, where we can make some pretty good money. And have our oh, that's right, our vessel merchant that's nearby has over 100 gears on his person because we have a little bit of a spending problem with the vessels. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. And so at some point in here, this was literally the first thing that I built out of this whole house, was this cellar. The whole idea for this house was built around having this cellar that you know, come down this set of stairs and go out, and then you have your fields. So to go right from the fields down into the cellar was the whole concept. That's where this whole place started. And like grew out of that, and like what was the space that I had to work with. And now we've got vessels and cheese, and let's see, it's getting into spring, so how long are these preserves gonna last? 30 years in medium heat. We should let's see, fresh for 2 years. It's the 1.71 days, 38 days. Oh, hardly spoiled. Okay, so some of these have been down here for a minute. Maybe we should plant more onions. I was gonna pull some of these though, so that I could give a really nice meal to all the animals. Probably tomorrow, but I love that this has gotten to the point where it's just Stardew Valley. I can we'll give the spoiled ones to the pigs, I think. Sorry, pigs. We'll give some nice fresh ones to Elkie. And just live this Stardew Valley lifestyle where we're feeding our animals, we're feeding our elk and our goats and our sheep, making cheese, getting fruit, making wine, and you know, use our beehive kiln to make hundreds of oh no. Oh, what? Wait, parsnips are only suitable fodder for panda bears? They're not eating the parsnips. Picky. What's that spoiled stuff pigs don't mind? Is that awful? Are they... Really? They're not eating parsnips either? Picky. Well, we're learning. I'll deal with these picky eaters later. Lovely though. I mean, the rain and the lightning, also very thematic. Also just very nice. Good ambiance to just be chilling too. Look at how big these trees are gonna get. Yeah, I've never had a world go this long. Oh, I forgot the red top grass is now not suitable for bees. So I gotta maybe change that up. Ooh, get some cattails for our bees. How are these soybeans doing? They're alright. Cabbage is okay. It's probably time to plant some more stuff. Going through here, we've got some beautyberry bushes in here. Kiln setup. And yeah, I'm excited to try and mess with this idea of marking how many are open with the colors that that actually represents. I think maybe like a Roman numeral thing might be better. So maybe like a 3. I mean, 3 dots is also... We could do like a block of 3. I don't know. There's probably a really elegant way to do that, and I won't I won't figure it out the first time. Like Christopher Alexander says, no building is perfect when it's first constructed. Yeah, I really like this. You know, this is still a crafting room. It's still full of like the essentials for crafting and selling our wares to the treasure hunter. It's also pretty cozy. I do think maybe like I just want to play with the idea of bringing the plaster in here and expanding this window so you have like a little place to sit and look out the window. What time is it? It's almost midnight. I'm getting into it. I mostly just wanted to come in and show this off though, so that there'd be some sort of VOD so that I could keep the highlights going, so that if we keep playing this and we eventually get to some later years, I mean, maybe just for me, maybe I can just like look back at highlights, but so if anyone else is interested in this weird journey I've gone on to, you know, build this with science and also just sort of building something from scratch. Last time I took a ruined bauxite village. I took a ruined bauxite village and tried to creatively decide, you know, what would these buildings have looked like? And so this time I wanted to, with my big build, really just go from scratch and use some of those ideas of how am I using the space and how does that develop into an organic space with no real hints or guidance. Like, what do I build and how do I set it up so it feels good to be in? This was... So, like, why in a single player world do you need a tavern? I don't know, but it just felt like appropriate to the building. It felt like this building here, you know, like ended, you know, and it would have been a fine, you know, especially once we got to the half timber part and like the plastering and all that, like it would have looked, you know, probably just fine without any of that. But there was something about the space that kind of invited like a cross-sectioning area, you know? And I think especially like we were talking about that idea of the intimacy gradient, you know, where things go from public to increasingly private. Like if we can't have, you know, an outdoor stable and eating area, then it comes into the tavern and then, you know, slowly transitions into the kitchens and then my living spaces, you know, as separate from the places we've set up, like the little rooms we've set up. And you have this progression of space that it feels more complete, or at least it's just what in my mind we needed to finish out that space. So I built it because this is just my chilling out world that I chill out to. You can go to the very top of the tower too. Maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. It's a rare kind of maple though, so if I'm gonna trim it, I'm gonna trim it with the shears. Oh my god, on a rainy day you can't see anything. Oh well, you can see the blooming trees. Makes me think of how in Japan some of the blossoming ceremonies have been canceled now because so many tourists, you know, hundreds of thousands of tourists are coming to these very small villages just to see the blossoms. And it's something that comes up, you know, and Christopher Alexander also talks about this, that there's something to blossoming and blooming that makes fruit trees a really magical thing to include in like a town and a town layout, because it invites people to take care of them, because at some point they get the fruit from them, and so it brings communities and people together to have fruit trees. I want to say offhand it's like pattern 171 maybe, but there's all these different spaces that are created by trees, and there's such a symbiotic relationship between what fruit trees provide and what even trees provide, being trees, you know, like being their own thing that is alive, that, you know, it's a relationship that humans and living things have held for how many centuries. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick little thing, and I think it'd be really funny if I could go wrap it up before Twitch even can run its first ad break. So we get just like a little half an hour blip of walking through the fruit trees. I hope it's been fun, and I hope anyone watching this, you know, this weekend has a great weekend. Anyone watching this later has a great whatever it is, whatever day or time it is for you. Yeah, it's got a couple minutes. I don't think I'll send it to raid. I think I'll just wrap it somewhere, since it's been such a short little guy. Maybe we'll have an extra little path through the bees. Oh, some blossoms on the pumpkins. See how far they get. Alright, I'll get the turnips in a second, you guys. Don't worry. Alright. Later.